Call this meeting to order. George, can you take roll?
Sure. Colonel Evans?
Here.
Mr. Grozan?
Here.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Here.
Mr. Miko?
Here.
Mr. Naso?
Here.
All present.
Stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the part of the meeting where we talk about our district goals. We have three stated goals. The first goal is student achievement. The second goal is financial prudence. And the third goal is community involvement. We just added the third stated goal, the state community involvement. It always was very much part of what we do, but we felt that it was more important that we start to state that goal and solicit and encourage the community to get involved in any way they can, whether it's a board meeting, whether it's offering advice, whether it's some skill or technical knowledge that you have that we could use. It would benefit the district, whether it's just wearing green and white on Fridays. We want to be part of, we are part of this community, and we're all together, and we just want everyone to know that we welcome your involvement in anything we do. So thank you for that. That brings us to item 5, public comment. I don't see any public comment slips. Does anybody, nope. That brings me to the superintendent's report. Cameron?
Thank you, Mr. Naso and board. We do have a presentation. We'll have a few updates first, and we'll get to Andy's updates on athletics. But first of all, just wanted to say publicly thank you to our administrators, our staff, our teachers for an outstanding start to the 16-17 school year. It's been a year of transition for us with consolidating buildings and opening new buildings and going through renovation process. But due to the efforts of the entire group and our supportive parents, it's been a great start. We are still working through those beginning of the year bumps as you have in any school year, and I sent out an email to all of our parents this weekend about some of the transportation challenges we're working through with the Pearl Road construction with the middle school lot. But I'm happy to share with the board and the community that months ahead of schedule, the South Let is projected to be open next week at the middle school. Mr. Dietrich and the Transportation Department have worked on dismissal procedures where the buses will be completely housed in the north lot. All parents, visitors, teachers, staff, and all car traffic will be in the south lot, which will help us get the buses out of the middle school much earlier than we are right now, which is going to speed up the pace of arrival at home for our elementary students. So again, appreciate the patience of our community as we work through the logistics of our new district footprint, and we're hopeful that by the end of the next week, we'll see a much improved time of departure and arrival home for our students. Wanted to also give you an update on enrollment, board members. I gave you a sheet. This is a culmination of work that Mrs. Pelko has been doing in terms of enrollment. She gave an update last week or last board meeting. But what we did here is took the class sizes. The class sizes that you have marked in red are those that exceed our class cap guideline that we use, and you can see each building has a few, and they're just slightly over. But the good news, as we look at grade level averages across the district, we are well within the average and right around that 25 students per class per grade level. And as we look at the building averages, grade level averages, we are once again at that 25 average per class. So I remember years ago when we talked about consolidating the buildings, Mr. Naso, you made the comment that we're trying to get to that 25 benchmark, and we're pretty close as we're going to get with 5 buildings across a district our size. So Mrs. Pelko and the principals did a wonderful job of looking at staffing throughout the days right before school, and I think we've done an outstanding job of staffing it right, getting class sizes right for our students and our teachers and our parents. I've also given at the bottom just the enrollment per grade level total so you can see how we're trending as a district. And one thing to note, we've talked about it a little bit, we've seen an enrollment decline in our district over the past few years. We've averaged about 200 students per year. As you can see, our district enrollment as of today is 5,464 students. This time last year, we had 5,469 students. So our enrollment has declined by 5 students between the 15-16 and the 16-17 school
5
year,
students.
which is phenomenal.
Wow.
So we really are seeing more of that decline flatten out for our district, and we're excited about that and excited to welcome more and more students to our district.
Makes me glad we kept this safety valve we're sitting in right now.
That's right. That's right. Just a couple upcoming events wanted to bring your attention to.
One comment on this. Sure. You mentioned that a while back, I'd mentioned that we wanted to get to that optimal 25. And, although, and that comes back to 2 of our goals. We want student achievement and we want financial prudence. If we, obviously, student achievement, there's not, some would say that the smaller the class size, the better the achievement, not necessarily supported all the time by statistics, but whatever. But what we can't do is we can't let that number get too low, because then it gets very expensive. So on the financial prudence side, we have to keep that to a certain size so that it stays within what we can afford to do. And that number seems to serve us best when we balance those 2 goals against each other. To be right around 25 seems to be the number that's best. So, that's why I made that goal, or that comment, but I just wanted to clarify that a little bit.
Any other questions or comments from the board? A couple just updates of upcoming events. As we've publicized, I believe has been in the local papers as well. We're excited that with the upcoming Strongsville Education Foundation Middle School Open House. That will take place on Sunday, September 11th from noon to 3:30. We welcome all of our community members, whether you have children in the district or not, to come see our brand-new school, take a tour. There'll be an ice cream social. There'll be the community jazz band playing, and it'll just be a nice afternoon to showcase our newest building in the district. We encourage people to stay at 4 o'clock. The Cleveland Pops Orchestra will be playing. There are VIP tickets available if you'd like to reserve your seat through the Education Foundation, but it is open as long as seating is available for free. So it'll just be a wonderful afternoon and evening to celebrate the grand opening of our brand-new middle school with our community. And then finally, we are again excited to open up for the first time our brand-new renovated, reinvigorated Packatan Stadium and Serpentini Field. We do have, through Team Strongsville, the citywide community tailgate, which will start at 5 o'clock in the lot right next to the stadium. We ask everybody enter the stadium and get ready for a short dedication ceremony. It's a youth sports night. We will have many of our youth programs there on the track to be recognized, and to cut the ribbon on this beautiful renovated stadium that was so graciously provided by the donations we received from our community. So hope to see everybody out at our tailgate party and at the football game to participate in that great event and hopefully see our first victory on the field Friday night. And with that, it's a good transition to Andy Jalwan, our athletic director, to give us an update for our athletic program for this year. Andy?
Thank you, Mr. Ryba and Mrs. Palco and Mr. Anagnostou and members of the school board for the opportunity to be here tonight to update you on athletics. Special thank you to Mr. Anagnostou for his help on the PowerPoint. What I'd like to talk about tonight is our year in review, our goals for this year, the challenges, landscape, and opportunities facing us, and of course our athletic logo update. So in the 15-16 school year, Strongsville High School sponsored 24 varsity sports, which came out to 48 total teams when you take into account the JV, 9th grade, JVB teams, and so on. We had 936 student athletes representing Strongsville City Schools last year, so close to half of our high school population. We had the opportunity to see in an athletic venue. Of those numbers, we had 264 all-conference academic award winners. Of course, one of the numbers we're most proud of, and that is achieving a 3.4 grade point average and also earning a varsity letter. So that doesn't take into account all the ninth graders and others that didn't earn varsity letters that also had 3.4s. But as you can see, almost a third of all students competing last year earned an all-conference academic award. And throughout the year, we had 25 student athletes that received some sort of financial aid or scholarship to continue playing athletics at the next level, the collegiate level. Some of our team accomplishments, which we've certainly had the opportunity to recognize at past board meetings, our boys soccer team, which was an OHSA regional finalist and also a national all-academic award-winning team. Our girls soccer team, which also was a regional finalist. Girls swimming conference champions, and our swim coach, Tom Stacy, Coach of the Year. Girls track and field conference champions, and John Cerrone, our conference Coach of the Year. And our state champion, three-time state champion, senior Cassie Martin, who has graduated and is down at Duke this year, continuing on to represent the Strongsville Mustangs, who we're very proud of. So a lot of exciting things happened on the field last year, and a few exciting things happened off the field. Our Excellence in Athletics campaign, which we've already referred to tonight and at several board meetings, one of the most rewarding things about my year last year was this opportunity to be involved in this campaign, not just from being able to see the finished result, but I remember sitting in Mr. Ryba's office in September, and we decided that this was something we were going to try to do, and I'd only been on the job about 3 months, and I was instantly fearful that I had no credibility in this community, and I'm going to be going out and talking to businesses and corporations about donating to this project and believing in the vision we had. I felt it was going to be a monumental task, but what I was really excited about and my most memorable thing about this project is it didn't matter what credibility I had or anyone else on our committee, the school district's credibility really was the momentum to get into these donors' doors and to be able to sell the vision that's already been established by this school board and this administration. It was not hard at all to be able to sit across from businesses and individuals and ask them to be a part of this project. They were willing and wanting to help. And because of that effort, we were able to get this done. And a great tribute to our donors last Tuesday night where we were able to recognize them. I also spoke about my second favorite part of the project has been the reaction of the students and really putting into perspective what this project means and being able to bring that home and see it on their face every day. As the high school was relocated to Kinsner this summer, I jokingly said I was coming over daily, but the more I think about it, I was coming over about hourly to check on the progress of the field, and every time there was a different group there of students, just eagerly watching the next roll of carpet going out, and just the reaction on their face. So thank you again to our community, our school board, and everyone on our turf committee, our administration for making that a possibility. And of course, as Mr. Rob already mentioned, we're definitely looking forward to officially, ceremonially grand opening that field tomorrow. A big task this past year was reorganization of our booster club. Special thank you to Mr. Micko from the school board who helped sit in on a lot of late night meetings to really put some structure to our booster club to begin to get them to operate in a way that will benefit our student athletes. Giving them some guidelines, some just general ways that will help them operate better, so ultimately that impact will be greater for our student athletes. I'd also like to thank Donna Caputo, Dan Martin, and Christy Clifford, who are integral parts of those meetings, and I think we're really seeing that pay off this year. Already the Booster Club has matched their membership goal this year alone of the entire membership of last year, including raising over $10,000 in membership alone. Their fall sports program is hot off the press. I just saw it before I came over tonight. You'll be able to see that tomorrow. They did an excellent job on that. So the energy in the Booster Club, it really was about a nine-month process to get them to where I think they need to be so that they continue to operate in the future in a way that will, as I mentioned, impact our students. Adding both JV lacrosse teams for our boys and girls, which is a rousing success. The lacrosse numbers are through the roof in participation. We are very fortunate to be able to make that happen this year, and we are excited about the continued growth of our lacrosse program. The athletic logo, which I'll speak more about towards the end, another process that was something that we were able to accomplish this year. Hosting tournaments for the OHSA this year in both volleyball, basketball, and baseball. and inducting a class into the Athletic Hall of Fame. And meeting with the Athletic Hall of Fame committee, that will be one of our goals moving forward, is to make that an annual tradition, and getting some more life, just as we've done with the Booster Club, some more life and energy into the Athletic Hall of Fame committee to make that more vibrant, so we can continue to recognize our fine alumni that deserve and belong to be in our Athletic Hall of Fame. These are our goals for this year. Where we're focusing our energy, something you're going to see new or hear about is athletic council. There'll be 2 levels, district level and building level. The district level, our first meeting is actually Tuesday morning, to talk about things that now that we have both middle schools into one building and a high school program, where we want to see it become a true 7 through 12 effort, grade 7 through grade 12 effort. And how are we operating on the district level to make that happen, including looking at policies, things that are more philosophical and overreaching, such as now that we are certainly focusing on community engagement, not that we haven't in the past, but how can we continue to, as that becomes more of a formal district goal, continue to implement that in our athletic program. At the building level, there's a lot of things that I found in just 1 year where I think a lot of our programs are operating kind of in their own realm. And there's no guidance for what things like parent night or awards night or how tryouts should be structured or how a varsity letter is earned, where everyone's kind of doing it piecemeal and in their own way. So we can bring it into the building and really look at some of the ways that we operate in the athletic department, give the coaches and our other athletic personnel a voice in making those decisions and shaping them for the future. Again, high school, middle school coordination is going to be a big focus for this year. Really getting on board, making our programs grades 12 through 7 through 12, excuse me. I think getting both middle schools into one building and the energy we have there with their leadership of Mr. Dietrich and Mr. Hubble, and getting on board with the leadership at the high school and the district level to make sure that we have that experience fine-tuned so that when a Mustang enters grade 7, they're already starting to get prepared for what it will be like to be a varsity athlete at the high school level. Community engagement, even before this became a formal district goal, it's something that we've certainly been thinking about all year, all of last year, and I'll focus on in the next slide 2 programs that we've already been able to implement. And also as we get into our athletic council and working with our coaches to see how we can expand on opportunities such as these, as well as community service, which a lot of our programs are already doing in the community. Part of the continued growth of the Athletic Booster Club, we want to make sure that all that work we did this past year doesn't go to waste. So, and it's not. The Booster Club is already taking off with their activities and their fundraising and their membership drive. So we just want to make sure that we stay on top of that because of what they do. Their funding that comes back to our student athletes is so critical to be able to have that impact. Lastly, what I would like to do is look at writing a 5-year strategic plan for the athletic department, and I've been working with Mr. Smithberger on how we would want to structure this. Some main items that we want to take on and really fine-tune those and what the expectation is from the athletic department on how those things should look like. Our focus will be on fundraising, getting a grasp on that. As we've re-energized the Booster Club, like if we can make more of that fundraising go through their club and not have all these pop-up fundraisers and just get a better control on that. Operations, as I talked about, just day-to-day operations, the athletic department, things like parent night, award night, things that go on all the time, but there's no structure to them, make sure that we have uniformity to that. Our athletic handbook, it needs an overhaul. So looking at that with our building level district, our building level athletic council to really see what should be in there, what should not be in there, how that should look, what we really want to focus on. Right now it's 62 pages. No one's reading all 62 pages of that. We really got to focus on what that athletic handbook should look like to make sure that it's a good functioning document for our athletic department. And our financials, including the help from the Booster Club and how our budgets are structured. And again, a lot of time and effort from the treasurer's office helping me with that process this past year and continuing that this year to make sure that the dollars that we're bringing in the athletic department are being spent in the best way they can, which is to impact the student athletes. These are 2 examples of community outreach programs I hope you've already heard about. I keep hanging them up on bulletin boards across town, and a week later, they're down, so I keep putting them up. But we've gotten good traction on these already. Our varsity basketball program's taken the lead on two exciting opportunities for the community. One is in October 29th. Our head varsity basketball coach, Jeff Eicher, and Darren Collins will be putting on a free coaches clinic for any coach in Strongsville, well, any coach anywhere, actually, that if they want to come and learn the Strongsville way of how we do basketball, how we run drills, defense, offense, they're going to be on the court teaching those things to our youth basketball coaches. And our Junior Mustang program, which is going to be a direct community outreach to students that are in junior basketball, rec basketball, even at the middle school, as long as they're not competing on the 7th and 8th grade team. Those students would have to be exempt from this opportunity because of OHSA rules. But our Junior Mustang program is going to offer 6 free clinics. I'm sorry, they're not free. This program costs $10, but 6 clinics throughout the year, including they'll get a T-shirt, and if they wear that T-shirt to any home basketball game, they'll be admitted free. And then we'll also have 2 Junior Mustang recognition nights, one for the boys and one for the girls. Both these opportunities, we've just started advertising them. I've got already a lengthy roster of people signing up for them. So it looks like something that our community is really rallying behind and wants to be involved with. Our challenges ahead. Our facilities, I was able to speak to the board. I can't remember what month it was, about our sports performance center, our weight room, getting that done. Really taking a look at how quickly we can get that done, what we need to do to get that done, and focus some of our energies wherever that needs to be to make that happen. And facility-wise, something that is already, we need to start planning for is the ice rink and the future of that facility for our hockey team, with whatever relationship the ice rink has with the city being potentially expiring, and also the rising cost of ice time. How we can continue to support our ice hockey program with that challenge ahead. Our conference competitiveness. Right now, we're in a very competitive conference, athletic conference, the Greater Cleveland Conference. We're becoming one of the smaller schools, believe it or not, in that conference. I'm happy to hear our enrollment's steady, which is good for athletics. But the stability of the conference, with the fact that 4 schools are on the east side and 4 are on the west, are all our partners invested in this conference. Already there's been issues with schools maybe wanting to look at other opportunities. So just understanding that there's some challenges with our conference and how stable that is moving ahead, which would affect our teams. Changes from the state level, the Ohio High School Athletic Association, who's constantly under pressure from the state legislature. As these House bills continue to go through the House and then make their way to the Senate, with all these school choice issues that are being forced upon schools in general and then having trickle-down effects to the Ohio High School Athletic Association, we're seeing a lot of pressure and changes to our rules and regulations that we have to follow, whether it's homeschooled students, how students are transferred in and out, keeping our own students in Strongsville, which I know is a focus of not only the school board but our athletic department. So there's challenges there. Competitive balance, which doesn't affect us directly, but it's an issue facing the state as they're looking to make tournament representation more fair across the state. They've instituted competitive balance, which you'll be hearing a lot about over the course of this year, and just operational changes within the state office. New programs that they're forcing upon us. So we've got to stay on top of those. So those ever-changing pressures from the state are just some of the challenges that we'll deal with ahead. Part of our building level athletic council will be to address the way we communicate, taking a hard look at our website, which I'm 100% not happy with and needs a total overhaul, and we really have got to focus on that. We've got a great webmaster now who's actually a coach who's already taking on a lot of this work. So we'll continue to address that. How we communicate via email and social media also will be something that we need to take a hard look at from the athletic department, because athletic news is timely, and if it's not getting out in a timely fashion, we're hearing about it. So we need to do a better job with that and get on top of that and take advantage of the tools available to us to do that. Our opportunities ahead, we have emerging sports. I know that I've mentioned more than once that I'd like to see bowling come to Strongsville. I think it's a great opportunity. We're going to try and attempt it this year as a club and get a club up and running so that we could at least get students involved and get them out to bowling alleys. It's a great way to sponsor a varsity sport for a non-traditional athlete. Competitive, or dance, I'm sorry, which we already have a dance team, but they're growing, their numbers are up. We now have a very good advisor who's a professional dance coach and where we can take that program. And competitive cheerleading, something that we will be looking at taking an advantage of this year and trying to grow that. Tournament hosting, as we already host a lot of tournaments for the OHSA, now with the new field, we definitely want to get into soccer, football, and lacrosse. I fully expect that those opportunities will be coming our way. School spirit, something that we've had a lot of conversations with, addressed internally. How do we get our students more involved to come out and support their classmates? 2 opportunities this year that we'll be working on is with our new sport management curriculum and also our cheerleading staff and our cheerleaders, is to look at a way we could start some sort of, whether we call it a student booster club or a student spirit squad. We've already got some ideas floating around of how we can have the students take a little more ownership in their own experience. And that's something that I'd really like to see. And so far this year, actually this fall, the students have been really engaged and really coming out to support their classmates, and we want to continue to see that. Okay, the fun part, the athletic logo update. So we've been working on this for the past year, and I hope you've heard about it and why I believe this is important. As the district went through some logo redesign about a year ago or maybe a year and a half ago, the athletic program, when I came in last July and I sat down with our secretary and our staff, I said, can I get a copy of the athletic logo? And they would say, well, which one? All right, so we don't really have an athletic logo that we're operating under. We need to improve our recognition. It should be easily recognizable and instantly identifiable. Establishing our brand will help create trust. When I was talking about all our programs sort of operate separately, bringing them all under one logo and one department guideline or handbook will really help create that sense of trust. It'll help support our goals, especially with communication. As we say, we want to communicate better with our constituencies. When you see that logo and you know something's coming out with it and you can recognize it and you understand it's coming from the high school athletic department or the district athletics, you'll know that it's supporting what we're trying to do. Branding is tied to value, some of the things that we already talked about. A strong brand inspires. It's why when you think of like the swoosh or the famous brands like the Golden Arches, they're easily recognizable and people are emotionally attached to them. And really branding will help us create new customers. As we talk about keeping our enrollment up and giving our students something excited to be a part about, I hope when they see it, this is something that they'll get excited about and want to be wearing around town, create new sense of energy, and really also help with the school spirit piece. What we wanted for our logo when we set out on this process was it to be the cornerstone of the athletic program. No matter what sport is competing for Strongsville High School, they will use this logo. It will be their official logo. We got to get away from this separate logos. So if you're walking around with, and I'll have some examples in the next slide, if you're at the mall, if you're at wherever, we want you to know that you're representing the Mustangs. Our identity should be clearly expressed. We did this through focus group feedback. We held 2 focus groups, including a lot of internal discussions. We want it to be memorable and recognizable. So those are the characteristics we were looking for when we set out on this project. So what is the Strongsville High School athletic logo? If I asked you that today or when I came in last July and I was given a file of all these different logos, and I was told pick one. Which one do you want to use today? Because all of our teams are using these logos. Some use one, some use multiple. So we have no brand identity. We have nothing that I can stand behind and say, that is a Strongsville Mustang. So that is why I thought this was important. This was our timeline. And I'll read it because it's a little hard to read. In November, we sent it out through the superintendent communication, a request for proposals. We had 12 people respond. Out of 12, 6 were selected to interview. In January, after selecting our graphic designer, we began work on the logo. In February, we held our first focus group, which was a smaller group, included students, coaches, and community members. After getting the feedback from that focus group, we set to work on the logo. Between March and April. In May, we had another focus group where we actually showed some concepts of what we were thinking, where we wanted to go with the logo. After that meeting, June through July, we had revisions and revisions and revisions on those concepts where we got down to one final rough draft. When we got down to one final rough draft, our focus group became Mr. Ryba, Mr. Smithberger, and Mr. Faust to fine-tune that last revisions of the logo. And we approved it tentatively until I show it to you tonight, about a week ago. And the official unveiling is tonight. So here, without further ado, is the new Strongsville High School, our district athletic logo.
All right.
So I hope everyone likes it. I hope our students especially will like it. I hope our community will rally around it. In order to promote this and get the word out, I have an online team shop set to go live tomorrow morning where you can get all your green and white gear with the new logo, and I will have this out on Twitter and all our other ways that we communicate so that our constituencies can get it. This will be open for 2 weeks. We have polos, T-shirts, jackets, sweatshirts, anything you could really want that if you want to get your new logo merchandise. And also, tonight, for everyone in attendance, I made 50 of these. So I have a few to take back, but everyone tonight will get a T-shirt, a long-sleeve T-shirt with our new logo. So I hope you'll be the first ones out promoting our new logo.
Thank you.
So I will get this information out, actually this tonight, so people can have this and be ready to order their Mustang gear for tomorrow. And that concludes my presentation. Is there any questions about anything we're doing in the athletic department?
I do have a couple of things. One, for me, athletics is really important, right? So it's the way I got to college. I think it's so big in the community. I think when athletics are rolling, everything just seems to go a little bit better, right? So, the first thing we focused on was the facilities, and I think we've got we've made some huge progress on that, right? We got 2 beautiful brand-new fields. We need a plan for the weight room yet to fund that, so we're still working on those things. But now it seems like we got to move into exactly like a lot of the things you covered in there, structure and process. Like, how is it organized? What's the process? How do we operate as Mustangs all the way through? And one of the things that's really important to me, and it just drives me nuts, is that we need a plan to develop and retain our athletes. So, all the way from these little teeny 4 and 5-year-olds who are out there playing soccer, they're playing SFL football. We got to make sure that we're out there making sure that those kids want to be Mustangs. Because I go to the games, I go to the SFL games, and I see the Ignatius coaches, and I see the Eds coaches cherry picking our kids, and they're walking down on the field, shaking hands with their E's on their shirts and their Ignatius crap. And, and so it really bothers me. So I want to make sure that we go out. And some of these people are legacies. Their dads went there. Their grandfathers went there. They get all that. That's what they do, right? So, but there's a lot of kids who get taken, get stolen away to compete, and they're usually the best, and their families are terrific. And so we want to come up with a way to do that. And I think it's important that as you're working, that I'd like you to come back at some point and talk to us about what your plan is to not only to develop them, like you said, 7th and 8th grade, but really start lower and retain these athletes. So when they're in 7th and 8th grade, we should be talking to them about being Mustangs and not being, whatever else they could be. And which, everyone gets to have their choice for their children, and they do the best they can for their children, and that's great. But part of that is accountability for the coaches. It's pretty clear we have certain coaches who are going they're going the full thing. They're living it, and they're out and they're at, the soccer games in the morning, and they know the little kids, some of the little kids' names already. You know, they're coming to their practices, and we have some coaches who aren't doing that. And I want it to be clear that I'd like to know exactly what's expected of every coach who wants to be a Mustang coach. It's not just about getting a stipend from us, because at some point, you know, we're gonna want accountability before we approve those stipends. And they're recommended by Cameron, but we're gonna say, okay, is this coach doing what he's supposed to be doing? I mean, is he out there developing the youth? Is he having Mustang night? Is he connecting with the SFL? Is he connecting with the Stallions? Is he connecting with, you know, the soccer leagues and all those, the hockey leagues? All the things they're supposed to be doing, because that's how we do it. That's how you build these programs. And I just want to make sure that we get that, and your plan has to, and I know, because we've talked about it, but I want evidence, because, you know, I trust you, but I want you to show me, you know? And so trust but verify. I want to see that there's accountability for our coaches, that they're doing these things and if they're not, we'll find coaches who are, because a lot of people want to be Mustang coaches, right? So I think that's a great thing. And, you know, so I'll stop talking about it now. But that's the next thing that's really, I really want to make sure we have accountability for our players, accountability for our coaches, accountability for everybody, to make sure that we're doing all the right things to give our kids the best possible opportunities to win and be great citizens. So I don't know if anybody else has any
Absolutely.
comments or questions, but
Yeah, I do. I think it's really important that we keep on continuing to talk about, we're not done yet. You know, we've got 2 turf fields that are being installed, but we're still 200 grand short. Our goal, our costs, and one way we get that weight room is our focus can't be the weight room. It's got to be finishing up what we've already started. We need a donor. We need someone who has naming rights to the middle school. That should be something that we talk about, continue to talk about, because we're not over the finish line yet. Regarding ice hockey, that's a mess over there. But you're going to have, by the sounds of it, by the rumors, by the approvals, you're going to have a different sheet of ice down in Medina that you're probably going to be able to go to. So we'll see. And to expound upon what Carl just said, you know, I want to highlight and say thank you to our varsity girls soccer coach, Todd Church. My daughter is 6 years old and plays for Strongsville's travel team. And this Friday, and he's already done 3 other Fridays, where he has his entire coaching staff playing with 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old girls over at Fultz Fields. Lights are on, music's playing. My daughter's running around for 2.5 hours, and she's just loving life. She comes home to show me what new tricks she's learned. That program, and I'll use Junderberg's comment, the standard's the standard. It's easily to look at that program and say that's the standard, because they're the last ones that gave us a state title. And I just wanted to highlight and thank that entire staff, JRM Youth, and Coach Church, because they do a wonderful, wonderful job. Thank you.
thank you for your presentation was very good. We don't, you know, we're going off on a tangent. You came into what I think was a bit of a mess. And the first thing you have to do is like clean it up and get it organized, and that's what you're doing, and you're doing a good job of that. So keep moving forward, you know, and I know you're moving on to these next steps. So you know, it takes a while to get some of the stuff cleaned up, especially when everything's spread out and you know, everybody's running their own gig. So trying to wrangle those Mustangs in, it takes a bit of, you know, takes a bit of energy. So keep up the good work. And I don't know if anybody has any other comments. I know, thank you, Richard, for your help with the Booster Club. I know I actually joined before I came today, and I went on the website and it worked perfectly. So it was a nice system, and it captured everything. So thank you.
Thank Robin. She did the work.
Oh, I should have known.
Just
Thank you, Robin.
one last thing, I'd be remiss to, I forgot that I did invite our graphic designer who did all the work tonight, all the work on our athletic logo. I did invite him here tonight, and I forgot to mention that he's here. But Charles Conkle from Low Rent High Rise, independent graphic designer who did the work on our athletic logo, and I'd like to publicly thank him.
Thank you.
So,
We were wondering who
he drove a long way to be here, so I better
we were
not
wondering
forget
who
to
the
mention.
mystery guest was. So-
Speaking of the logo, I do have a question. Is it copyrighted or proprietary? Can anybody use this logo? Do they have to pay to use this logo?
The answer is that no, it is not allowed to be used by anybody. So we met, I met this morning actually with one of our legal teams, and they are working on a trademark for that. And also, we will have a licensing agreement for anybody that would like to utilize our logo. As Andy said, we're going from clip art to a beautifully designed logo that Chuck has worked with us for a lot of months here. So that will be protected. And we're more than willing to work with some of the local companies and organizations, but there will be a licensing agreement with those instead of just open use as it has been in the
Okay,
past.
thank you.
Thank
Yeah, if you see them in Rite Aid or Walmart, let us know so we can,
We're going to
Take
protect
care of
that
that.
patent.
Exactly, good job.
anything else?
Well, that's my follow-up question. So, and maybe the question's for George, but we currently have the NFHS licensing group, which has a agreement with the OHSAA. And they're the ones that, when you go into a Target or whatever and you see the Strongsville logos, they're the company on the tag. So I wanted to find out how much we're getting for that and verify that we are getting for that. And then I wanted to find out, is that the agency we're gonna be working with? How has the licensing's issue, are they in the process? Have they been decided? Where are we at with that?
To answer the question, yes, we are getting something. What the amount is, I don't know offhand. I think it's a few $1,000s, but I could get the amount and get back to you.
Yeah, just bring it back to us, just so we're aware of it. And then as far as, is that the group we'll be working with, or how will that
I
move
would-
forward?
I would certainly defer to Mr. Ryba, but my intention would be to license this out in-house, especially if we will have a licensing agreement. I don't think we would need to outsource that work, especially to any third party who doesn't have an interest in the district. But we're still in the infancy of setting these agreements up, so.
Yeah, according to, in our discussions this morning, although preliminary, the recommendation that we're moving on is we can have a boilerplate contract that we can work with different companies, and we would handle that in-house.
Okay, I mean, either way, they're the ones that are doing it at a national level
Correct.
with
Correct.
your Targets, your Walmarts, et cetera. So if we're gonna have a new logo, it would be nice to have a new logo everywhere.
Sure.
Until 10 years from now, and we can have retro and bring a Mustang back. Thank you.
And George, one last point. To George's point, there is still more work to do. There is a turf committee meeting Tuesday
Tuesday
morning
morning.
at 7 a.m. to
We
keep
haven't
moving forward
forgotten.
on raising money.
Right? Thank you.
Okay,
Andy,
thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
With that, that ends timely report. We'll bring up Mark Donnelly, Business Manager, for the Business Services Report.
Thank you, Mr. Ryba. Tonight, under Business Services, we have 3 items for your consideration. The first item under Business Services is a copier and printer maintenance agreement, which is an annual item that we approve. The rates that we have this year are the exact same rates per black and white page and per color page that we had last year. That was a reduction of a previous agreement. That can be found on Exhibit A. We have a change order on item 2 for the high school. There's a lot of work on our control system for our heating and cooling system. We work with GPD and Hammond Construction to come up with a plan to address heating and cooling issues, so we can control the building temperature much better than we currently do. And also, there's a few mechanical repairs along the way, but this requires a separate vote. I'll read the resolution. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the execution of a change order with Hammond Construction for supply labor, materials, and equipment that is required to complete the HVAC work scoped out by GPD in the amount of $124,028.08. Funding to be from the high school construction fund.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, George. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Just to be clear, RFC is reviewed and approved?
They were part of the meeting where all
Part
this
of the
was
meeting?
decided, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would not bring a change order to you unless GPD and RFC agrees, Hammond agrees, yes, that they're
For
all
this
in
one,
agreement.
Mr. Naso, it was a large meeting to discuss all the HVAC controls issues. GPD, Hammond, George, me, we were all around the table and agreed to this change.
Okay.
And
I have some questions.
And if I could mention as well, this is additional work through savings that we were able to get done. and it's just gonna make our system run that much more efficient.
Okay, George, that's one of the questions I had. Why wasn't this in the scope of the initial renovation of the high school? All the HVAC systems were under review, as far as I knew.
Agreed, but in Pandora's box is what I call the high school, as we unpeeled some layers on that system, we found that there were additional problems. And through this cost, we were able to review the well over 200 VAV boxes in the entire building, and to find out that we had certain mechanical requirements and certain mechanical changes to each one of those VAV boxes. Now, would we have liked to have wholesale removed and changed every single one? We would have loved to do, but we just don't have the money to do that.
Are they mechanical or pneumatic?
Mechanical. We've essentially eliminated all pneumatic systems within the building. Am I
Yeah,
right,
the
Mark?
pneumatic systems have been removed.
Yeah.
We have, the new controls, are Johnson Controls, a 2016 version of the control system, which is electronic instead of the old pneumatics.
Now, are all the heat and cooling balance issues been resolved by this?
This is a part of it.
There's a separate testing and balancing company who take care of that. After all the controls are done, the mechanical work's done, then they come back and they test and they balance the building so the proper amount of air is exchanged from outside to inside, et cetera.
Okay, and is there any more living in the shadows with the HVAC systems in the high school that are gonna come to the fore here?
The one nice thing with this additional money spent is that each one of those VAV boxes were inspected, cataloged, and any mechanical issues, or let's say if we discovered something that could be questionable, the wonderful thing is now we're finally organized. It's a big building with so many different mechanical systems that now our in-house HVAC individuals can look through those systems and keep an eye on them. But as we know at the high school, we weren't able to change all the mechanical systems, all the heating, cooling systems. So now we have a very clear vision of what we have to keep an eye on, what we have to budget in near future to look at. It's just, we had to work with what we had, but there are some that are questionable, but still had some life, if that made sense. We don't want to take anything.
How about the media center? Is that included in this?
The media center, I think,
Has it been
has
looked at?
all new, the media
Right.
center's a brand new space.
This is nothing in this list is a part of the media.
We're talking about the old wings that have been there for 30, 40 years.
There's a new HVAC system for the media center?
We replaced 15, 17 units.
This summer alone, we replaced 16
Yeah.
rooftop units, but in the previous summers, we replaced other rooftop units. And what's being replaced this fall, as far as heating and cooling, et cetera, they are working on the media center. I don't have a count of what is being replaced, but this is a change order that was not part of the design. I believe the media center is having its hair handlers and chillers being
It should be
replaced.
included in all of that.
That was part of the
It shouldn't
original
come to us
plan, I
with
think, in the
another
media
change
center.
order.
This is a change order that's in addition to the original plan.
Okay, and I have a question for you, thank you. I have a question, both of you. I have a question for you on number one. How many typewriters we still have in the district?
I don't have a count. The
We have typewriters in the district that are being used by various secretaries.
And do we maintain them still?
No, that wasn't approved by the board.
Yes, I remember.
Right.
That's why I'm asking.
They are here and they are maintained as much as they can be maintained, but there's no outside contract that
Have we
services
made
them.
any progress towards putting everything online, on forms online?
Everything that can be online with the new InfoSnap and all the other computer programs we have are online. You know, what the typewriter, I can only speak for my secretary, you know, what the typewriter is used for, if I have a registration, it's more for what people send us, not what we're sending out. So if I have to register for a conference or a meeting and they need that sent back, it's a paper copy, she prints it out, types on it, and sends it in for me. So it's more used for that function of what is coming into the district rather than what we're sending out.
Okay, just didn't want you thinking I forgot.
Well, I know you didn't forget.
And Duke, I would like to make one last point on item 2. The items that we knew were still out there, we asked Hammond to create a list, a hit list, if you will, for us for future projects, for future years, should we have the opportunity to make some additional repairs. They're going to give us their opinion on, these are the items I would hit first with funds that are available. So what we could not accomplish within the project, it's still working, it's doing fine. However, we're getting some expert advice now as far as, you know, where to direct our attention in the future should things come up and funds become available.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Mark, I just want to be clear, You know, George keeps on mentioning the Pandora's box at the high school, et cetera, but one of the things that we will be able to benefit from is everything's being documented. At the middle school, we will get an inventory of every system, et cetera. So moving forward at the middle school and the high school, there should be no excuse for a Pandora's box. I mean, we still will have work that needs to be done, but we'll know where that work needs to be done, and we'll know what we're dealing with.
Yes, from 2010, when I first got into the district, till now, the to-do list is much reduced, and it's more manageable now than the insurmountable obstacle that it was before. We've addressed the worst-case scenarios, and we've made some huge improvements, and now we're down to the, do we want to get this now or later, or what's the best use of our funds? But we can make some real informed choices on what to do, because the list is greatly decreased.
And if I could add one more thing, one thing that this was able to give us the opportunity to do was to completely organize all the HVA systems within the district itself. We have a computer program through Johnson Controls that not only looks at the middle school, but the high school and the elementary buildings. What they were doing is removing systems. Center, Albion, Drake, all those systems, and cleaning everything out. And Carl, you talk about community engagement and pulling that value out of our district. The gentleman from Johnson Controls is a Strongsville dad who actually has a daughter in my son's class in Kinsmer. So this gentleman's gone above and beyond to help this district and really, again, like Richard said, create that list and organize everything for the future. So we're reducing that chance of another Pandora's box in the future.
Excellent, thank you. Jane, anything?
Now, does this include them to the programs for how to maintain it as far as, or are we covering that down the road?
There will be a
The
maintenance,
schedules.
we'll have a maintenance program and a schedule of, such filter replacement, belt replacement, those kind of
And
things.
inspections and?
Yes.
Okay.
And as we did, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, when we hired a certified HVAC technician, I can't tell you the number of things that, instead of making repairs and fixing the things that have been broken for a while, we are now in the point of doing some preventive maintenance and taking care of things that need to be looked at on an annual basis. John is knocking out things and doing the repairs or doing the preventive maintenance that we haven't had a chance to do in the past. We are so far ahead of where we were 3 years ago just because of John's efforts. Also, the construction project leads into that because we eliminated a lot of the old systems that were headaches for us.
Okay.
Jane, one of the things we're working on shortly, Roger Riachi and me and Mark, is not, as he said, we will get a maintenance program through a piece of this, but to develop a more comprehensive maintenance program that will have alerts for our staff of, here's the last time you changed this filter, or here's when this needs to be done. So it becomes more automated rather than a binder on the shelf that we'd have to open up to see when do we have to maintain this. So we're not there yet, but it's on the works to make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Okay, thank you. And then I have a question about the copiers, even though I know we're supposed to be voting on this motion. We seem to be jumping around. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Do we own our copiers, lease our copiers?
We own 100% of the copiers and printers in the district.
Okay.
That was a process that was followed when I arrived here, and we have repurchased all the copiers and printers, or not, and let them be taken out of service.
And the lifespan of a copier is what, 6, 7 years?
I can't say by years. Usually it's by clicks. Our larger unit, 65, 75 page per minute copiers usually run around 4 million copies. It's roughly 5 years. Some of the schools that don't use it as often gently can make 8 years or longer. When you have a very heavy volume, it's not going to make it 5 years. It's all based on volume. And our printers, those will last 9, 10 years.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's vote. Mr. Treasurer?
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Thank you. The final item on the business services agenda tonight is a change order for the High School Excellence in Athletic Fund. This is the building of the grand entrance into the actual field, Serpentini Field. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the execution of a change order with Hammond Construction to provide all labor, materials, and equipment costs to construct an arched opening with columns and gates at the Pat Catan Stadium as an entrance to Serpentini Field at a cost of $50,000 $397.30. Funding to be from the Excellence in Athletic Fund.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, George. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Any discussion?
What was the budget for this? Does this fall under the?
This is the
budget?
contingency for our Excellence in Athletics funds, which was a little, around $240,000.
Okay,
So we're within the budget of our
a
contingency.
little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
Is this the poured walls
yes,
entryway?
correct.
Is it gilded? For $50,000, it ought to be in gold.
Can I have a vote?
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
And if there are no further questions, that is it for the Business Services report tonight.
Thank you, Mark. Next, we have Andy Trujillo, Director of Special Education, with his items under Student Services.
Good evening, members of the board. This evening, I have 3 items for your consideration. First is tuition contract at Kids Link Neurobehavioral Center for a student attending there for $74,200. Second is a settlement resolution, seen in Exhibit E. And lastly, another tuition contract for Steps Academy in the amount of $70,000 for a student that is placed there for the school year.
Anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
Do I have, the settlement resolution requires a vote. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Any discussion? I think we've all read the resolution. We met on it. So we have a vote. George?
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Andy.
And finally, with the Human Resource Report, our Assistant Superintendent, Jenny Pelko.
Thank you, Mr. Ryba. Good evening, board members. I have the following items for your consideration under Human Resources. Under number 1, we have the retirement of one of our bus drivers, Norman Randa. Definitely thank him for his service to the district. Under number 2, I have 2 certificated appointments, Kimberly Mickler, intervention specialist, and also Haley Pinheiro, who will be a long-term sub at the middle school. And under number 3, we have 1 appointment, a change from a .8 to a 1 full-time teacher for Sharon Baker. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
And with that, that concludes the Superintendent's Report.
That brings us to the consent calendar, I believe. Item 7, all items adopted with a single vote that contained an asterisk. There weren't too many of them tonight, but do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Duke. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, George. Any discussion, adjustments? We had no adjustments to any of the asterisk items. George, could you take roll?
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. That brings us to
Executive session.
other. We do have, I have 2 others. The first other is a one-time waiver of board policies. Be it resolved, this is a waiver, I'll read it. Be resolved that the Strongsville Board of Education approves a one-time waiver of board policies 5530, 3122.01, and 4122.01 to allow the Strongsville Education Foundation to serve wine at a reception on our district property provided by the Strongsville Education Foundation and obtain, as they obtain necessary permits and fulfill the requirements. So do I have a motion? And then I'll explain.
Yes, so moved.
Thank you, George. Second by Duke. Okay, so for discussion, this is for the event on September 11th with the Pops Orchestra. Following that event, they're going to serve, there'll be a very small group that they're going to serve wine, and it won't be sold. It'll be just a little celebration for a small group of people. Obviously, no students will be in the building at the time, and it'll be a one-time waiver. Does anybody have any questions or concerns they'd like to discuss?
Is it strictly wine?
I believe it's strictly wine. Could be beer. I don't know. It's no
Well,
liquor.
No,
My-
it's
that's-
just wine.
That's my
It's just
question,
wine?
if
It's
it's
just
going
wine.
to be,
Okay.
it
I'm
is
not,
going to be
just wine?
strictly wine.
Correct.
Strictly wine. Okay.
And this is in support of the Strongsville Education
Foundation
Foundation
and all the work.
at their request.
And donated by the mayor, am I right?
I believe so. Yep,
Yep.
donated by the mayor. So can I have a vote?
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Nasa?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Once again, this will be a very small, that won't be for the general public, it'll be a very small group of people.
The next time we open another middle school,
We'll do it
we'll make
again.
another
We'll
one-time
make another
exception.
exemption, but it's gonna be an incredible event. Anybody who's around on the 11th, you know, you should try to attend the Cleveland Pops Orchestra. It's gonna be just an incredible day.
I have a question and another, Paul.
What's that?
I have a question and another.
Oh,
May
okay.
I?
You may.
Thank you. George, on the financial report, you have 559 students and $90,000 owed. Of that $90,000, how much is overdue or delinquent?
So that financial report was from last board meeting?
Well, it's laying here at my place here,
Oh.
so.
I'm not sure. I think it might be from last board meeting. I didn't pass any out. But I believe at that time, the new fees for this school year haven't been added, so that entire amount was from last school year or previous school year, so.
Okay, and what are we doing to either collect that or take action?
So so that number is a few weeks old. We have seen a little bit of an increase. It's still up there, but it's making a little dent on it, especially now with the fall sports participation. We've held out a few kids from participating until they either got on a payment plan or they pay their fees, and in some instances, they pay the entire balance. Others got on a payment plan. So we have presented those list of consequences a couple months ago, and we started to enforce them. And as the fall sports are starting, some kids were held out for the first football games until they made a payment or they paid in full.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
Anything
we're implementing everything that we presented to the board is being implemented. I'd like to compliment Andy. He's worked closely with his coaching staff and has been implemented throughout the district at the middle school and high school. And, you know, the other events, the other consequences were a part of that will come up as the school year unfolds. But everything that was presented to the board is being enacted throughout the district.
Okay, thank you. My other is just a comment on what Andy presented and the idea that Cameron has stated before, the goals of our whole educational program is to get our seniors, our high school seniors, to the point where they can go on and be successful in college or go on and be successful at life, whatever trade or profession they choose. One of the things that in my life experience has been true is that you don't always have to be the straight-A student. You don't always have to be the star quarterback. You don't always have to be the greatest flautist in the world to succeed. You need to be well-rounded. And athletics and arts also help. I mean, we send our kids to school to learn book learning, basically academics, but we also want them to get a well-rounded education. And that means well-rounded in what life does to you. And I think, and I know from personal experience, as I know Carl does and probably all of us on the board do, life isn't fair. And when you go out there and you get knocked around a little bit, it helps if you've been on the fields of friendly strife in an athletic contest, or you may have lost a game, or you may have experienced the thrill of winning a game. It also helps if you've had the rough edges rounded, maybe with some good arts programs, like being in a band or a concert of some kind of singing group or something like that, or done artwork. So it's not just academics that makes a well-rounded person. The athletics are important because they give you a chance to experience the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, and to find out what you're made of. And it's likewise with the other programs that we offer in the schools. So I think it's a really important part of the total education that we provide to our kids, that the taxpayers provide us money to provide for our kids, to prepare them for what life is going to deal them. So I just think that was important, because I know when I put my resume in to go to the Air Force Academy, they were looking for smart people, they were looking for good athletes, but they were looking more importantly for well-rounded people that had all aspects of life covered, if you will. And it's, those people are the ones that are probably going to be the most successful.
Thank you. I do have one more other, and what I'd like, in my other, is to thank Duke. So, when we started the Excellence in Athletic program, when we talked about turf in the two fields, and later on came the weight room, Duke had another vision, and part of that whole, the two fields, Duke had a vision for what he called a Perkins-sized flag. And we thought that was a military expression. We later found that he wanted a flag like they have at Perkins, that enormous flag that flows in front of the building. Well, as we went through the project, it turned that, we said we were gonna do these turf fields, that's what it was about. Money started to get tight at the end, and, we had to go to Duke and say, listen, we're not sure, we don't have money in this program, we said we weren't gonna take money out of our regular funds, we weren't taking taxpayer money, we were gonna do this with donations. So, we're not sure we can put this flag in. Well, Duke went door to door, calling everybody, and just relentless in his calls. And he's raised by himself, about $22,000 of the total cost to put this flag up. And the total cost of the flag is around, I don't know, 25, something like that. And Duke is still knocking on doors. And I'm not gonna say the people who donated the money, that'll be for another day or whatever, when Duke wants to make that announcement. But I can tell you that he was relentless in it, and I can also tell you that he shook down a number of us, not that he had to, but a few of us wrote checks for the honor of a flag, and in this day and age when some people don't stand for the national anthem, and they don't respect our flag, and they live in this country, Duke's at the other end of that spectrum, let me tell you. And shortly, when you come into the stadium and you see that beautiful field, it won't be this week, but it'll be soon. You're gonna walk in, and over in the corner, instead of that little flag that we had, you're gonna see an incredible flag that's gonna be the cornerstone of those fields. And I just wanted to thank you, because we said we didn't think we could do it, and Duke said, like hell we won't. And he dug in, and he got it done, so thank you. I really appreciate
Thanks,
that.
Carl.
I think Richard wrote the first check, so, thank you. All right, that's
Thank
all.
you.
I don't have anything else. We do have need for executive session, just for, it's gonna be 5 minutes. It's just about evaluations, and I just wanna talk about a concept real quick.
Sale of land.
What? Sale of
Sale
land?
of
Wanna talk
land.
about- Okay, and sale of land. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Vote?
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Motion passed. Enter an executive session, 8:15.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll enter at 8. No further business, and executive session will end at 8:30.
For the Browns game.
Exactly. I have to pick my daughter up, so.